Now, more Vistara flights from key cities are likely to be cancelled today, as they were yesterday, as the airline struggled to plug in a pilot gap. As many as 15 flights taking off from Mumbai, 12 from Delhi, 11 from Bengaluru are reportedly cancelled this morning. Now, Vistara has been forced to reduce flight operations due to non-availability of pilots, in fact, many first officers have been reporting sick to protest against pay revisions. The development has forced the carrier to cancel up to 50 flights on Monday. Additional 70 flights could be cancelled on Tuesday. Why are pilots calling in sick in mass? What's really happening?
So what's actually happening, Shweta, at Vistara is pretty much a replay of what happened at Air India around the same time last year, April 2023, a few months after Tata Group had picked up the government-run Air India and sort of, brought it back into their fold. Remember, Tata Group was the airline that originally launched Air India more than 100 years back. And when the airline came back to the group, there was this pay parity which the company wanted to bring in. Now, what really happened was that how pilot salaries are structured is that there is a fixed salary every month, and there's a variable salary on the number of hours that you actually fly. So before the pandemic, pretty much all airlines flying in India would pay pilots a monthly fee, a short sort of MSP equivalent, so to speak, for 70 hours minimum.
Fixed pay.
So a fixed pay of 70 hours, whether you fly or not, whether you're sick or not, whether you're on training, whether you're on an upgrade program, no matter what, you would be paid for 70 hours. Now, during the pandemic, the Air India, which was government run then, had brought down that 70-hour threshold to about 20 hours. And they said, since flights are not taking off, in any case, you don't have passengers, the whole country, pretty much the whole world is locked down, then they brought the salary down to 20 hours minimum every month, just to retain pilots and ensure that the pilot's livelihood continues, because there is no variable pay added. Now, in April last year, Air India then increased that COVID-induced 20-hour salary to 40 hours, did not take it back to 70. And that is what led to the protests by the pilots and the pilot unions in conflict with Air India last year. Now, remember, Vistara is also a Tata Group run airline, pretty much now a sister concern of Air India or Air India Express. Now, all through the pandemic and even after that, Vistara continued to pay pilots 70 hours of fixed salary every month, did not reduce it to 20, did not then take it up to 40. Now, to bring parity in the pay structure of pilots across these different brands held by Tata Group, which is Vistara, Air India Express and Air India Connect, the 40 hours of minimum salary parity kicks in. Now, that obviously has the Air Vistara pilots miffed, because they have been used to getting 70 hours of minimum wages every month. Now, that gets truncated to 40 hours. Now, according to some estimates by some pilot friends and sources I spoke to, that amounts to almost 1,20,000 rupees of reduced salary every month. So, from whatever you were drawing earlier, with this 30-hour reduction from 70 to 40, pilots end up taking home 1,20,000 rupees lesser.
Now, is this fair, come to think of it? When you sign up for a certain company, you sign up at a certain salary. Now, that salary is only expected to go up. It's not expected to be revised downward. In this case, 1,20,000 is a substantial sum over the month.
So, I think the rationale that companies, that airline operators try to follow is that every time you are up in the air, every time you're flying an aircraft, you're actually making money. Every time you're flying with an empty seat, you're losing money. And every time you're grounded, you're not able to take off for whatever reason, you're losing even more money. So, the more uptime, the more airtime that flights get or airlines are able to shore up, translates to direct revenue for them. So, I think the incentive is to push pilots to take fewer leaves, take fewer furloughs, maybe at some level, get them to fly more. And every time you fly more, there is a higher chunk of the variable pay that comes in. But every time you're not flying, the cash out for a minimum 70 hours is what bothers the P&L of airlines. Now, whether it's fair or not, I mean, you could look at it from the rationale of pure business and economics, or you can look at it from a very social standpoint and a very humane, emotional standpoint. My pilot friends are obviously very upset, and they have reason to be upset, because they feel that their monthly, remuneration comes down. But it comes down only if my pilot friends decide to not fly enough to ensure that they are getting what is generally due to them. But I think they are more miffed about the fact that that with this merger of Vistara and Air India, both sides end up suffering when it comes to the crew, because at one level, if Air India continue to be government driven and subsidized by the taxpayer, then perhaps that 20 hours would have been revised back to 70, and there would have been no 40 bridge in between. And in that scenario, Vistara would have had no choice but to continue with 70, because Indigo continues to offer 70. Air Akasa continues to offer 70, but because of the sort of negotiation power and the bargaining power being reduced with overall reduced competition, and one mammoth Tata group controlling a large chunk and another Indigo controlling, actually being the market leader, there aren't too many places for pilots to actually move to and fly out to.
Right.
So in the absence of competition, they have a much lower bargaining power that they once had. And the fact that that there are just very few operators and the whole industry is pretty much moving towards a duopoly with Indigo and with the Tata group as a whole, and a small chunk being right now operated by SpiceJet and Akasa Air, there aren't too many options left for pilots to actually migrate to.
Right.
So unfortunately for them, they will have to perhaps stick with the company unless they find a better opportunity. But how will they find a better opportunity unless pilots from the other airlines quit? And if they quit, where do they join? Will they opt for a lower pay structure? I think this whole game is going to change with more aircraft arriving into India. We have large aircraft orders. The need for pilots, to fly those aircraft is only going to become that much bigger, and hence all companies which are flying right now will need more pilots to come in. At some point, market forces are going to optimize this minimum support price of fixed salary for pilots and a threshold for variable salaries. Until then, I think this lack of competition is going to keep pilots feeling miffed, but they won't have a choice but to sign up and go with the requirement of the company.
But until they do that, Vistara does not have a choice.
That's right.
Most of its flights are now grounded. They remain unoperational. Many of them have been cancelled now for at least last 2 consecutive days. Over 100 flights have been cancelled. 70 will be cancelled this morning until, of course, pilots will relent and sign up for the revised structure for compensation.